buddies. Hey, it's Concert Buddy. About to show you a recap of my return to the Chicago Record Show. It's actually changed locations since I've been, but does that mean that they don't have good records there? Find out after this. Before I talk about the record show in Chicago, I do have to kind of set the stage, if you will, because whenever I go to Chicago, I like to have a little bit extra time to kind of check out the record stores in town. And some of them I go to every single time. Sometimes I try to branch out, check out a new one. This trip was no exception. I like to center my expedition of Black Gold, if you will, in the Wicker Park neighborhood. It's kind of like my anchor because you have a lot of record shops. Get that out of my mouth. In kind of a close proximity to each other. You have Reckless Records on Milwaukee. You have Sugar Records. You also have Dusty Groove kind of at the tip of Milwaukee, and I think it's Ashland. But there's a new contender to the Chicago Wicker Park area, at least new to me, and that's a shop called Signal Records. They actually have two locations. They have one, as I'm talking about here, kind of right in the Wicker Park area. It's on Ashland also. And then they have one on Diversey Street, not too far away. The shop owner, when I was talking to him, said it's in like the Logan neighborhood. I'm not very familiar with the names of the neighborhoods. So Chicagoans, tell me in the comments below if I totally screwed that up. But two locations, and I went to both of them. The wall of high heat, whatever they call it there, the wall of wow, every store calls it differently. But it's the same thing. It's usually stuff that makes you go, wow. And Signal was no exception. Actually, that's how I found Signals. Through the power of the gram, I just stumbled across their shop a couple months ago, and they had got, I guess, a ton of dead stock of the Rodriguez second album, Coming From Reality. At least 8, 9, maybe 10 sealed copies of this album. Now, this album goes for, when it's open, goes for about $200 plus or minus, right? So imagine sealed records. I think the record came out in like 72, I want to say. Because Cold Fact, I believe, was like 70, 71. Anyway, I talked to the shop owner just briefly about it, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of like those once-in-a-lifetime kind of situations. But anyway, that's how they got on my radar, because I was impressed, shocked that you could find that many dead stock Coming From Reality records from Rodriguez and like one buy. It's insane. Didn't buy one of those. Tempted, because I do have the album, but tempted. But anyway, so Signal was just straight fire. I didn't buy anything like super high heat. There are several things that did kind of start pulling out the Discogs and doing some evaluation, because I keep in mind I still had to go to the show the next day. You know, we were up here for the weekend. We came up on a Saturday. Show was on Sunday. My son was with me. So I couldn't just completely blow my budget. So I had to be a little bit modest, right? But the things I did pick up from Signal, I'm going to show those first, then we'll talk about the show.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
So I know, Arnaldo, if you're watching this video, you probably are shaking your head that I didn't already have a copy of the Smith Mita's Murder. I didn't, because most Smith's records, at least in my area, are $50 or more. All day, every day. And so I've been holding out. I've been really trying to be disciplined and get this record for sub 50. Signal had it for 35, still in shrink. I don't even know. Rock Records, Chicagoans need your help. Is this a local record store? I don't know. But I was happy to pick this one up. And I'm building a mini Smiths collection. This is now my second Smiths record that I've added. It's a band that I knew of, but I didn't really kind of dig into the catalog. Arnaldo, I know you're probably just banging your head on the coffee table right now. But anyway, $35. It's below that $50 threshold, so I was happy. And it's in shrink. It got a little kind of like colored tape. They even taped like the original inner sleeve, which I didn't like, but it is what it is. But below my pricing threshold, I was happy to add this one. And before we left Signal, my stack was actually pretty small. I was got that Smiths record, and then I was thinking about getting, I had a Tupac record on the wall that I was really evaluating if I wanted to get. But I hadn't looked at their dedicated hip-hop section, and I found it, and it was a very small section, but man, super excited, because I found a lot of, I wouldn't call them like home runs. I mean, these are nice, steady pieces and in shrink. Like this is Lil Kim, the Notorious K.I.M. This is from 2000. Here you go. Still in shrink. I love picking up late 90s, early 2000s hip-hop records, and I really love picking them up when they're still in the shrink like this. Hopefully not too much glare. As you can see, boom, boom, boom. They had a co-op, so this is distributed through Atlantic, but it says it's on Queen Bee Records. Hey, all I know is they've reissued this album. I don't have the reissue, but for an OG still in shrink, pop, pop, pop all day long. Also got a upgrade copy. So after DMX passed away a couple years ago, I jumped right on Discogs because I did not have this album, and then there was X, has obviously that one crazy great song, Party Up. I had to look it up, sorry, it's getting me for a second. But after DMX passed away, I literally did what so many people do. I didn't want to pay the death tax, jumped on Discogs and got a kind of beat up copy of this album. But Signal had an upgrade, as you can see, and if you watch my vinyl resolutions video, which you totally should, one of the things I talked about is trying to get top tier copies, and this is a top tier copy. You've got still in the shrink, you've still got this nice luscious pipe sticker. So this is obviously on Def Jam, probably one of, my opinion, DMX's two best albums. Hot as Hell is probably the other album that I would say I'd recommend to anybody. But upgrade copy, so I'll be moving my other copy on down the road. But man, so cool. So the album at Signal that really got me hype, and you're gonna laugh, is this is Crisscross. Remember them from Totally Crossed Out, Make You Want to Jump? They had to close backwards. So as they were maturing, they're still on that Rough House Columbia off-print label. Jermaine Dupri, I believe, was still producing this, if I'm not mistaken, just like he produced the first album. Anyway, this is their follow-up, Da Bomb. And I've only seen this one other time in the wild, and it was beat to shit. Usually 90s and 2000s hip-hop records, if you find them, they're just beat to hell because DJs played them, right? So DJ copies will have destroyed outer sleeves. Sometimes the records are pretty rough too. Every once in a while you find a nice clean record and a destroyed outer, but you usually don't find both. This one is clean, clean, clean. Those DJ copies also have like writing on the labels because they have tape where they mark like the beats per minute for their DJ stuff. Anyway, whole nother video. But this is something that I was extremely excited to grab because I never see it. And it's in shrink, and it's in hype. $15. I mean, come on, this could not jump in my stack fast enough. So then there was a couple other records that kind of talked to the owner about maybe picking up. Kind of was throwing some nice price alterations my way, which I appreciate. I didn't pull the trigger on those, but I did go to that other location I was talking about. Again, I think it's the Logan neighborhood. It's off Diversity Street. Check it out. And they had a couple of records, but the one I'm going to show you was one that I had to really think about because it's kind of outside my wheelhouse. Jasmine Felipe kind of introduced this guy to me, and I've kind of been slowly undertaking the catalog, and that's Tim Maia. He is a famous singer from Brazil. This is a Brazilian press. This is his first album, self-titled, on Polydor. You can tell his label is seen better days. And these, even the outer sleeve, you got some like creasing. This is pretty rough. It's a very flimsy kind of cardboard material. So I've got kind of like a backer board in there. I'll show you just to kind of keep it straight, right? Anyway, this is his debut album, Polydor. It's mono. Never seen this in the States. If you want to grab a copy, Discogs, it's not very cheap. This wasn't a very terribly expensive record. I think I paid like $60 for it, maybe. Anyway, something you never see, and I'm a firm believer in that adage. If it's something you know about, something you just don't think you'll see, that's usually the time to pop on it. So I was happy to add this to my collection. At the first Signal Records location, I had another Tim Maia record that I sent Felipe a picture of, and it was a very pricey one. It was an awesome looking record. And Felipe, I'm gonna hold you to it. You say maybe able to snag it for me next time you go home. A little bit cheaper. Anyway, Tim Maia, self-titled. Never see this kind of stuff. Awesome. All right, so the Chicago Record Show, bread and butter of this video. I've gone to it several times when I was at a little bit different part of town. It's kind of in the burbs. It was called Hillside. It was in this like Best Western. You opened at 5 a.m. for early bird, if you can believe it. Had a lot of success. I think I've done videos on the channel talking about going there. But since the last time I was there, I think I went to either the last show at Hillside or the second to last show. They've moved to another part of town called Countryside. And they start a little bit later, so early bird starts at 7. So like I said, we went up for the weekend, stayed overnight, hotel not too far, get there right at 7. I don't even know where to walk in. This is a new building. I'm unfamiliar with my surroundings, and they have like a dock door open. So my son and I kind of walk through that, and it's already a feeding frenzy. There's one table right in front of us that it's just like shoulder to shoulder. I don't know what's going on. So I made a calculation error here, and I'm going to share it with you. So I'm kind of telling on myself. We walk in, I see all these people. I probably should have just jumped right in, right? That's instinctually, I wanted to do that. But then I had my son with me. We hadn't paid for the early bird. So I'm like, we got to go pay for our ticket. So probably a crate digging fail here, but obviously I'm trying to set a good example for my son. So we walk all the way up to the front of the thing. We pay our early bird and then walk back. So it turns out that this was like the $5 guy. And I've bought from this guy before, but holy smokes, we walk up on the table and he's got a Pharoah Sanders Karma. I mean, just some real heat. And again, everything was $5. I've been trying, and again, going back to my vinyl resolutions video, I'm trying to buy more killer, less filler. But in this instance, I found some records that I probably wouldn't buy any other way. A couple of really cool ones. I'm going to show you just a couple. But I ended up buying 15 of these $5 records. So before I had even put my bag off my shoulder, I've got a stack of records. And people, like, when I say shoulder to shoulder, I mean, you would have thought they're giving away free money. I mean, there's just so many people. You just had to kind of snake into these boxes. And people are like taking, I mean, literally my arms, I probably like ripped my biceps off the bone holding this giant stack of records. But picked up some real cool stuff, the highlights of which I'll show you here. First one is, I think it was Josh over at High Fidelity Records who showed this recently. This is Grover Washington Jr.'s album, Mr. Magic. I think it's his third album, 1974, 75. It's on the Kudu label. Now I'm going to show you a couple things on this. One is, sounds magnificent. This was cut over at Van Gelder Studios over in New Jersey. Sounds A+, like fantastic. This is kind of like, I wouldn't say, I mean, it's kind of like smooth jazz-ish. I mean, there's no vocal elements to it. He played, gentleman Grover Washington Jr. played the saxophone, passed away, I think, in 99. But the wildest thing, outside of it sounding great and, you know, a Van Gelder cut, I mean, look at my man. Like, I don't know what kind of, first of all, the album cover just makes you think, like, this guy has got his shit together. This guy's got some big ones. And then he's doing this kind of majestic deal. Can you see this? Like, this is like, I don't know, he's auditioning for like the Water Olympics. synchronized swimming or something. But I mean, you got to be real confident to throw out this kind of album cover. You got to just have the big ones. You got to be carrying that big stick. And whatever is happening here, I mean, my man's like spitting up water. Like, this is some crazy shit. And I don't even think he has any pants on. This dude is buck ass naked in this album. So not only does it sound good, not only does this guy feel good and look good, my man ain't wearing no pants in the damn swimming pool. Come on, bro. Anyway, $5. Had to do it.
I love hot dogs.
And then the other, I'm going to show that $5 bonanza this is the Brat. So you're talking about another Jermaine Dupri client from So Def down there in Atlanta. I just talked about it from that Signal score. Here we are in shrink, hype sticker, double album. So this is on the actual So Def imprint. Come on, $5. I mean, I feel like I'm taking candy from a baby, but I had to. So anyway, coupled with those Signal records, I had a nice little hip hop pickup.
Yeah.
Another album I picked up, and this is a band I'm kind of getting into, kind of picking up their discography, and that is the Meat Puppets from Arizona. It is I think it's the Kirkwood brothers. I think Chris and Kurt. It's their band. I mean, obviously, if you're a Nirvana fan, they did the great cover of Lake of Fire on the Unplugged album. Anyway, this is 1982. You got it from Arizona. This is their first album. I never see Meat Puppets stuff pretty much anywhere. And so when I do see it, I'm quick to pick it up. So this is 45 RPM for a debut album, 1982. Pretty cool. And the same vendor had something that I took an L, a rare L. This happens sometimes. I'm not perfect. I know I look like a reflection of perfection, but it's far from it, folks. And this is the Vinyl Me Please 15 Éxitos 15 Quince. See, I know a little Spanish, by Chileno Sanchez. This came out in September. This was one of their albums a month. So this was under the VMP Country offering. And I didn't get it because I didn't know a lot about it. I know my pal Jose was big on it and was kind of talking me up. But I just figured and I also wanted to see if it was press. I got the pressings with these guys sometimes are hit or miss. But I was real happy that I found it this go around because it sold out September. Sold out. I was hoping it would last in the store for the next month. So if I did want to pull the trigger, I could. No, sir. So waiting on a repress on this. So to find it at the show, process it nice and clean. Super, super happy. If I'm not mistaken, good friend of the pod, Cicely Ballston over at Air Mastering, mastered this. So another reason I was happy to pick this up. And I've already listened to a little bit. It's pretty cool. If you know the story, if you don't, Google it. But anyway, waiting on a repress. Not me, suckers.
No, sir. Not me.
So another record I picked up at the record show is the Smithereens. This is Smithereens 2. This is an album that is not very easy to find in my area. I already have a copy. I believe it's a Record Club copy, but it's got water damage and yada, yada. And again, I'm trying to upgrade those kind of records in my collection to top tier copies. This isn't in shrink and whatever, but condition wise, it's a complete condition upgrade from what I already have. Came out on Capitol, specifically Enigma Records. I guess it was an off print on Capitol. But anyway, the signature track on this is Girl Like You. Really cool album. Something that, like I said, it's been in my collection, but I never see this. So I haven't been able to even consider an upgrade until I found it at the Chicago Record Show. So the last two are the accoutrement, the bread and butter, the highest of the highs. And so to walk it back a little bit, after I bought those $5 records, I was seeing some cool stuff, but I wasn't seeing anything the rest of the show. And by the way, I wasn't walking around with 15 records the whole show. I went right out to my car and put those in the car. So I had a nice, clean, empty bag. I was hoping to fill it with some vinyl goodies. And I wasn't seeing anything to strike on. And I started to kind of wonder, okay, well, maybe this is this show. Maybe I'm not going to see anything. But that changed really quick because I found a dealer. And after I got to talking to him, he said that I guess he had a friend who had recently passed away. He used to work at a record store, record label. I forget what he said. But this guy had some 90s OGs. And boy, did he. Big winners. So this was what I would say the vinyl gods were smiling on me because I hadn't pulled the trigger on anything else up to this point, and there was a reason. And let me show you.
I am going to drop a deuce on everybody.
First record I saw that this guy has, I'm kind of digging through his stacks, this is the Melvins. This is their first album, 1987, Bluey Porch Treatments. Now, I don't know about you, but Melvin's original records, I never see them. I just never. Like, you see a lot of reissues. Like, they've reissued the hell out of Houdini, right? That one, I think Music on Vinyl did several of their catalog and reissued them. But you never, at least my area, in my haunts, I never see originals, let alone the first Melvin's record. So when he had this, I got real excited because not only did he have this album, he had several other early Melvin's records, including Houdini. He actually had that in a box behind the table that he let me look through later, but that was a pretty expensive one. And I gotta be honest, I had to throw all my bucks at what I'm about to show you. Are you sitting down? Do you have tray tables in their upright position, seatbelts on? Because this is one that I've been looking for a while. Here it comes.
The cream of the crop.
Now, if you know, you know what this album is. This is Nirvana, 1993, In Utero. If you know, you know, they pressed this limited edition on clear vinyl first press. That's what we got here, folks. Now, normally, color variant vinyl, especially made in the 90s specific, hit or miss sound quality wise. And here's a couple things you should look for. One, you know it's an original because it says special limited edition disc right here. Clear vinyl 2. But I'm not going to lie. I have the Albini 2013 mix. It sounds really good. I have, I think, a Record Club pressing, like 93 or 4 of this. It's not bad. This Mamma Jamma smokes them. This sounds great. This is one of the first records when I got home I cleaned. Been cleaning records. That's partly why I didn't do this video right away, because I've been processing. People like to laugh at that, but it's part of my onboarding ritual now. As I clean my records, re-sleeve them. I know sometimes these sleeves have a glare. Apologies. My friends at Vinyl Storage Solutions make one hell of a double pocket sleeve. Get you a discount in the comments below, show notes. But man, and I gotta be honest, this is not a cheap record. I've only seen this one other time in the wild, and I think it was maybe at Amoeba years ago. Very pricey. I will tell you, paid up on this. I didn't pay the going Discogs rate, but it became very evident why I hadn't found anything else to really pull the trigger on yet at the show is because the vinyl gods were saving my bucks to pick this up, because this has been on my want list for a hot minute. And when I tell you, buddies, that this sounds good, it sounds so good. Loud, punchy, kicks you right where it needs to kick you. Didn't even have to really even turn up my stereo, turn up my tuner, my receiver, because this was just cocked, locked, ready to go. And the Albini mix 2013 with the black cover, great. Really good sounding record. I think it's even on 180 gram. But it's not this. Buddies, it's not this. And you're going to find, and if you've already probably maybe even reached this point in your record collecting journey, you get to a point where you know the best of the best, you're going to have to pay up for it. And this was one of those records that I knew if and when the time was right. I'd actually almost bought this a couple weeks prior on Amoeba's website, but I just couldn't pull the trigger because it was about $400. Did not pay that at the record show. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid, but I paid below that. I paid below. Look at the Discogs median. I paid below that. But I'm telling you, I hate to say worth every penny because this is an expensive record. But the way this sounds, and this was the first music I ever bought with my own money, this 1993 CD, this album, and then Snoop Dogg Doggy Style. So I have an emotional connection to it, favorite bands. But I'm telling you, this was the highlight of the show, the belle of the ball.
The belle of the ball.
Had a pretty good show, had a great time with my son. We ate good, laughed good, found good records. It was just a good time. And so if you can go to one of these, Chicago, if you look on Facebook, it's under like Chicagoland Record Show, Countryside. I was fortunate enough also, before I wrap this up, I ran into member of the VC, Andy G, who I've traded some comments with back and forth. So I was happy to run into Andy. So Andy, if you're watching this, nice to meet you, sir. I didn't get to meet my man, Andrew Lavelle. I think our time, I think he got there at noon. I left at 11 because I'd been there since 7. So I was bummed about that because I'm looking forward to meeting him soon. So hopefully I'll catch you another one, sir. And then I think Steve from All the World's a Stage was there, but I didn't see him. He didn't see me. I don't know if we were looking for each other. I thought he was from Chicago because he had commented on the shows before, but he was like a ninja. He was out of there by 9:30, so I wouldn't have noticed because I was enraptured with this 90s collection. But anyway, buddies, tell me what you think below. Chicagoans, correct me. I'm sure I got some Chicago stuff wrong, but highly recommend going to this show. It's great since it's moved because at the old location, it was in a hotel, and the ballrooms, there was 2 different ballrooms, plus they'd have to set up vendors in the hallway. And so, man, in the winter, when I'd go to the winter shows, November or January, they'd open those doors. It's colder than a witch's tit, to borrow an expression from my stepdad. Cold. And so I one time, when I in line, I had to go back up to my room and get gloves on so I could dig through the records because it was so cold. But anyway, this new location does not have that problem. All the vendors are in one spot. They actually have a PA thing that they are saying PA stuff over the deal. So that was good. And they had like over 700 people at this show. So I don't know if that was a record for them, but shit ton of people, shit ton of records, good time. I'll definitely be back. I try to go once every 12 to 18 months, and I see no reason for that to not continue. Buddies, thanks for watching this video. Appreciate you. Hey, 1-year anniversary. Vinyl Community Podcast is actually today. So we got a big special coming out tomorrow on the pod. You don't want to miss it. The audio first, dropping tomorrow on Monday, and then the video companion next Sunday. It's one of my favorite interviews, conversations I've had since I've been doing this for the past year, and I think you'll enjoy it. Some awesome guests. I'm not going to give you any more than that. Just check it out. But buddies, when you get the chance to listen to Vinyl Community Podcast, go to your record shows, get that hot heat. Do it, do it, do it. But until then, listen to your records, buddies. Please, please, please. When you get the chance, just spin it. See you soon.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
Well, we out of time.